Right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Patar Project. I'm your host, Nick Patar. Super excited for today. Today's guest, Jake Ward. Brother, thank you for coming on and giving up your time.
Not a problem, my man. Thank you for having me on the show.
All good. Let's start. What are you grateful for today?
So 3 things that I'd be grateful for today is that, I wake up every day and I have this heart that beats 365 a day. 365 days a year for every year of my life. And, this thing beated for me when I was at birth. It's beated throughout me through my whole life. And I believe that the heart, in itself is powerful beyond measure. And then I'm also grateful for my girlfriend. She's beautiful. She's just recently come into my life, and we've kicked things off. Prior to that, I was single for 5 years, just doing my own thing, focused. And then I guess the next thing that I would be grateful for would be, just the ability to push through the hard days.
I love that, man. I love that. Now, you reached out to me, a few weeks ago. How'd you come across the podcast?
Listen, a part of my thing, I was just doing reach outs to all different podcasts, and then I seen your the Beta Project, if that's how you pronounce it. Is it correct?
Our project, yeah.
Beta Project, and then I just like, this looks like it really gels with who I am and what I do. And then I briefly looked at what you were about, and I was like, I feel like I'd really connect with this guy. Why not reach out to him? At the end of the day, the more proactive that we are in life, the more that we're going to get out of it. At the end of the day, you can't live life by chance, right? You've got to be proactive in it.
100%. I've learned that too, like starting the podcast and trying to get guests on. You just got to reach out and message, and you'll be surprised how many people reply and be like, yeah, sweet.
Yeah. I guess, as you'd say, like the reason why we get hit with resistance in that is like anything in life. When we're hit with the resistance, fear is the biggest stopper. I think Tony Robbins says it. He's like, life is a dance between what we fear the most and what we desire the most.
100%. On Tony Robbins, you've gone to his is it Unleash the Power, like his big event that he hosts?
Yeah, that's correct. I've been to one in person and one on the virtual reality as well. Not virtual, the virtual one as well.
How was that?
Virtual reality would be cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, brother.
How was that? Because that was on my list to do, like in person, but it got cancelled last year.
Yeah, listen, I believe that everyone should do it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that, like, when I first went there, man, I was actually still a gang member when I actually still went there, funny enough. And when I was getting all my life sorted, and I was just like, I walked into this place in Sydney, and I was just like, what's going on here? So is everyone on I literally thought everyone was on drugs, or if this was like some form of cult. I was just like, man, I thought we were here to like better ourselves, and it's like personal development and business. It's like, why is everyone dancing and everyone looks lit? And what did I realize is that you get into this such a state that where you drop your guard that you always walk around with, and you allow vulnerability out, you allow your inner child out, and people just are there and they're just genuinely happy. They're genuinely happy. They're genuinely having fun, and they're genuinely just connecting. So I think that environment is very intoxicating.
What are some of the takeaways you took out of that event?
When you hit a glass wall in your life and you think that that's your reality, really it's just another limiting belief. And we always have more. Everyone has the resources inside of them that they need to get the future and be the person that they want to be. You have everything in you that you need. It's just about looking for what's right instead of what's wrong, because we get into a habit of always looking for what's wrong, because we have this 2 million year old brain, and they say, like back in the prehistoric age, right, that all it's built for is like, your survival and your safety. That's all it's built for. So your brain doesn't give a shit if you're happy or anything else like that. It just cares about if your survival is number one and your safety is number two. So what happens is, in this day and age, when we're getting flooded with all this media and so much information, this is the reasons why it activates fear. So it almost traps us into a pain and pleasure model of the world, and this creates our limiting beliefs. And we always begin to be scared of putting our best foot forward, in fear of not being good enough, in fear of not being loved, in fear of failure, in fear of being judged. And these are the things that trap you. Once you understand that these are just in your mind and you start to break through them, it's like, they say rising to your potential, but it actually is. because you begin to take more action. You begin to take the actions required to make that happen rather than always avoiding or thinking it's not possible. When you close your mind off, you become fixed. When you open your mind up to possibility, that's when you begin to grow.
Exactly. Like as humans, we just want to stay in homeostasis. Like we don't want to get out of that comfort zone. And just like when you're in the gym or running or whatever, when it starts hurting, really, you still got 80% left in the tank. Your body just wants to stop there though.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And that's where like a thing that I've been like integrating in my life through like all my martial arts and stuff like that is stress management. Is like when we're in them places, it's learning how to be uncomfortable, because usually you'll hit that limiter and your body's like, no, this sucks. But the more that you breathe and you activate your parasympathetic nervous system and slow that tempo down, the more like, I can actually do this. I can get through this. And then it's like a muscle that just flexes. As you would know, training your ultra marathons and doing all this crazy stuff with one of your best mates.
Yeah, 100%. And every time you do that, you just set new levels, so new barriers.
It's
You just got to
exactly
keep
right, man.
breaking through it every single time.
Yeah. And that's literally just by doing, like when you're reaching these barriers and it becomes, I can't do this. And that's when you start to fix. That's where you know that you're hitting a glass ceiling. But when you raise your standard again and open your mind up, well, what if I could? I think Roger Bannister, that's the exact same reason what happened to Roger Bannister when he broke the 4-minute mile. But what if I could? And he did all the training required, and then it had the placebo effect or the Pygmalion effect that happened. He broke it. Then I think it was like 25,000 people, or there was a huge number that broke it just after that because they all believed in it.
Exactly. Once someone sees it happens, well, then they believe it. But before that, no one believes shit.
Exactly. And that's what's happening deep down subconsciously, because if you hit that glass ceiling, I can't, it just shuts its mind off. Or what are you even trying for? Because it's impossible. That's like Wim Hof as well, man. Like he's crazy. Look at what he's doing with all the ice and that's come there. It just looks like, what the hell? That's not even possible for a human being. And then he did the Mount Everest in his shorts. So I guess, there's always there's always a glass ceiling to be broken through. It's just who and how and what strategy that you have to get through it.
Yeah. Your body can fucking do anything. It's your mind that has to get through all the shit.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Your body's like, let's keep going. Your mind's like, no, please get out of this.
Yeah, like as I said, like you can push your body so far. It's amazing what the body can do. But every time you're fighting with your mind, it's not your fucking body. Especially like when you're running, you're like, oh, my calf's sore. It's like, it's not your muscles are sore. It's your mind telling you, fuck, stop.
Yeah,
Gotta keep going.
that's crazy, man. And it is so true. And then when you do it, you're like, oh, I can do that. So then the glass ceiling raises, and then when you hit that glass ceiling, it's like, all right, cool. Then you have an opportunity here to raise your standard again. And that's exactly the same reason why, like I said, I had this off week, because I had internal conflict, because I knew deep down, I was just like, and don't get me wrong, being kind to yourself and accepting and moving forward is a thing, because sometimes holding too many expectations on yourself floods yourself. And then when you have too much expectations, your mind is pulled in so many different directions. But that was my biggest thought was like, yeah, okay, cool. You do have a big load and your attention is getting pulled in so many different situations. But what if you could? Are you, and then I was like, are you not pushing? Or are you just being too do you actually need this? So it was really a question that I just had to sit there and ground myself to. It was like, what do I need right now? Because I just need to take it, relax. My mind's overloaded from social media and everything else. So that's what I did. And then, I had that day, I didn't beat myself. I accepted it. I was like, all right, cool. Not a problem. Tomorrow's a new day. Let's go.
Yeah, 100%. Like myself, I put so much pressure on myself, but every time it builds up, as I said before, I just like to chill out, go for a walk. And I kind of just like to look back at where I've actually come from, how far I've grown as a person. I'm like, all right, fuck, I'm on a good path here. I just need to chill. Everything's happening. Slow and steady wins the race, they say.
100%. Yeah. Success in your life is, a long-term game, not a short-term game. You know what I mean? And that's where everyone gets that misinterpretation, because we are programmed into a society that seeks instant gratification, right? And I say this on most podcasts, right? I'm bored, Netflix. I'm hungry, Uber Eats.
Yep.
Oh, I don't feel good about myself. Post a photo on social media. And, all right, cool. And then, back in the day and age, I want to speak. I got to go see my auntie, but lives on bang, Skype, can see everyone. So we get this, we almost get into this like this perception or where we believe that things are just become easy. And if as soon as you met with that resistance, it's too hard, your brain then generalizes. The more that you do that, your brain, when it generalizes, it's a copy and paste strategy, right? Oh, that's too hard. This is too hard. That's too hard, because it's so easy, so used to getting everything easy.
How do we work around that? Because especially the generations coming through now, they're going to get worse and worse, and everything is on this little thing, bloody phone. We
I,
can access anything.
I believe that's where, that entrepreneurs really need to step up, and people in the different spaces, from the health industry, the personal development industry, like you got mindset coaches and life coaches like myself, and inspirational people. They've got to be able to create the platforms and really innovate. That's why it says behind me, really innovate to show people a new way,
Yeah,
because, that will always come down to is your mental muscles, and obviously there's strategy and everything. But when there's a will that's strong enough, you'll find a way. You'll
100%.
make, you know what I mean? So I guess the only way to do this is, education, like influence, and having a platform that's going to be able to teach people. The more leaders that they are out there, the more people that can create that influence and have that impact.
Yeah, 100% agree. Man, let's go back a bit. Let's go to the beginning of your story. What was your upbringing like? It was a bit rough, was it?
So yeah, like I grew up with divorced parents, in a bit of a rough area where I'm at in Perth. Probably wouldn't be like, it's different from Sydney, but grew up in a rough area, man. I was really like an overweight kid. Like I was the nerdy kid, man. I had glasses, was bullied a lot. And yeah, I pretty much went through my life growing up, getting picked on, getting bullied. And, like I remember specifically one time, like where, I always started, I always knew that I was a target, but I always knew I had the inner strength to get through it. I remember getting bullied and bashed by like 6 guys at the rugby club, and crying to my mum saying, "Mum, I'm getting bullied," and she, and for whatever reasons that didn't help there. So I found out then, and from an early age, is sometimes in life, no one's going to be there to save you, and you've just got to save yourself. So I went out there and I fought all the kids until every last breath. And then my life went on. That I was repeating these same patterns. And I think it was like when I was 15, getting bullied at parties and stuff. It was like, it got to a point where I just said, I have enough is enough. And if I was to take it back a little bit, I remember, like going through this, I was like on my older brother's Xbox, playing a game of everything that I felt that I wasn't at the time, which is like a fighter, it made him look good. I think it was called like Death Row or something like that. And I made this character of whatever I think that I wasn't at the time, or what I believed that I wasn't. And that's when I kind of manifested that into my life, as I wanted to become this so bad. And, like at the age of 15, this is kind of where like all started to happen for me. Like, I started to lose weight. I started martial arts at the age of 15. 29 now. So I started in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then I went into Muay Thai, and then we had a thing called Zendu-Kai, or freestyle martial arts. And then that kind of evolved. That it evolved for me, like getting it out of the bully space and stop getting picked on. And like anything, when you're a fat, or not, I wouldn't call myself fat, but it was definitely like, overweight. An overweight kid, it creates all these insecurities and doubts about yourself. I had body insecurities. I had these doubts. I was ugly. I was this, and that become a weight for a young kid. But, like when I moved through like getting bullied and everything else, and become a good fighter, like good at fighting, good at martial arts and all of that, it became like almost got accepted. And I got accepted into like the cool kids. And then, like I was like the cool kids. And then I think it was like about 18, I developed such a strong friendship, a circle, but deep down, I was still a wounded boy that was scared and just thrive. I mean, wanted protection, you know what I mean? Like I had a rough upbringing through my dad, domestic violence and all of that stuff. I won't touch base on that too much. But yeah, I had to experience that. So really deep down, I created this figure of myself, which was on the game. But deep down, I wanted protection and guidance because I was this young boy and I was still angry at everyone because I was bullied. So what happened is when from the ages of 18, I had a really close friendship circle and we went out. We went out going night clubbing, as all you do, you know. At that age, you go out night clubbing and you find just trying to find your space. And what I found is like going out night clubbing at a young age is it's quite a hostile environment, you know, where we were, and it was like we were fighting every weekend. You know, it got to a point where, you know, that same pattern, we were fighting every weekend because, you know, like people, I would never start fights because I was bullied, but I'd always want to protect my friends. And not that they really started fights either, but it just happened. I can't say. And then life went on and that same pattern just kept repeating, fighting every weekend. And it got to a point, you know, like I was 23, I think. Right. And, sorry, that same pattern kept repeating. And then eventually like I got, me and my brother got noticed by gangs. And I guess, you know, like when, you know, my brother and a lot of my friends joined, they joined the gang and it wasn't really skeptical because it wasn't really my thing. I had great moral compass, great values, like deep down. And I was just like, I just kind of like doing the fighting stuff. You know what I mean? And, you know, they joined. And then because when we hit that point and my brother joined, he was like the only person that I really had at that time, or what I felt that I had at this time. And I got scared. I was like, maybe I'm going to lose him. I had no idea what that space was about or anything like that. I was like, what if I couldn't be there? I'm going to lose my brother. So I made a decision that it's the only thing that I had to do at that time was to join with him against my values. And I joined with him. And so that kind of took my life off path. I originally wanted to be like a commando and or the TRG, but life went that way and I got into scaffolding and all of that. And sorry, is this still landing for you? Because I'm going straight into the story.
All good,
cool.
bro.
Just to touch base, because sometimes you can go into like when you've got like a long timeline, you just go into full story mode. I just want to make sure that I'm landing the plane for everyone and for yourself. So yeah, we got caught into this, you know, when I was 23. No, it was actually younger than that. Sorry, man. I was actually a patch member of the Rebels Motorcycle Club at 21.
Shit.
So I was so young still then, bro. Like you have no idea what's going. You still fucking trying to figure out who you are. But I'd be just being caught through this space and. You know, I had this mentality that I would not stand for anything. Like I would not stand for people who were into my space. I would not stand for bullies. I would not stand for, you know, and what I found, like I was fighting most people that were like the trouble starters, you know what I mean? I was fighting all these other people. That's how we got noticed because we weren't just getting anyone. We're getting the guys that were meant to be the people, you know what I mean? And we're fighting them. And that's what got us noticed by the gang anyway. And that's, moving forward from that, so I joined, and then I got noticed, and then my brother joined, and then I joined whilst I was still training martial arts. And then, become one of the youngest patch members at 21 years old. And then as life went on, you know, it was like I was working fly in, fly out. So it was a mixture of yin and yang. And in 2015, that's where I changed my life. But from in 2017, I think I was 25 by then. But when I was going through this lifestyle, it was a mixture of yin. Like I'd be training and dieting up at work, reading books to in personal development, and then it'd be yang. I'd come home, it'd be like chaos in a masculine environment, and all the gangs and everything, all of that you get caught up with in that space too. You know what I mean? And this kind of went on for a few years, and then I think 2017, I think it was my life changed. The gang actually split up. The one club went somewhere else, and the other club went somewhere else in the bikie world. And I got left with a choice. And what do I do? So I left. But prior to that, before me leaving, that's when I actually attended a Tony Robbins seminar. And so I was this big, and I was quite big then. I think I was about 105, 110 kilos. I was this big tatted up bikie at Tony Robbins, dancing around and just being myself, because I felt like I could be myself there. I didn't have to hold these expectations. I didn't have to be anyone. I didn't have to, be much. I didn't have to do any of that shit. I could just be who I was, you know what I mean? So I let my inner child come out. So it's a very weird sight for a lot of people, because they're like, everyone's like looking at me like, what the
Fucking
hell,
odd one
man?
out, were you?
Yeah, and I'm just like, whoop, whoop, having a good time, man. And like I said to you just earlier in this podcast, I broke through so much shit then. And then so I broke through all this crap, and I was like, man, I don't have to be like, when it happened, and then when this big split between the two gangs happened, I was like, fuck this, man. Like, this isn't even who I am anyway. I was just like, I've always had a good, like, it'd be so weird because everyone's just like, Jakey, you're not even that person. I was like, well, I felt like I had to be there to make sure that my brother was okay. Although he was my older brother and he looked after me, don't get me wrong. But as a little brother, I was like, what am I going to do? Because that was at that time in my life, in my time period, like, I felt like that was the only person that I had. And then from that was like, And then from that's when I left and I changed my life. But I guess one of the key points that I missed there before changing it was in 2015. Like I said to you, my life was yin and yang. In 2015, what created this greatest unconscious void to be successful and change my life through all of that shit. Like, I remember specifically, I would go to work, and we're working at Barrow Island at the time. I'd get up at 2:45. I'd train in the gym, work 12 hours a day scaffolding, come back, train and do pad work, and then I'd study until I go to sleep. And this continued throughout the bikie stuff when I was working away for years. And I didn't even know where to look. I started, just Googling how to be successful. But I guess the pinnacle point for me, just to rewind before I go back into when I left from the gang, when I was working FIFO, I'd lost yet another job from being aggressive. I've been sticking up for the boys, and there's just two jobs. People were firing me just because I was a gang member. Man, I had such a great work ethic. I was polite and everything else, but people just like caught wing. I got fired. So I lost job after job. And then I started building frustration and resentment, right? Anyway, it came to another point where I lost my job again. And at this time, I was getting on charges for something that I didn't even do. It was like a grievous bodily harm in a nightclub, and they were just trying to blame it on me. So I just lost my job. I was $40,000 in debt I had from a court case, and I had nothing. I was arguing with my girlfriend. It was toxic for each other, and she left me. So I was sitting there, like, in my room, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you've got no money, you're broke, you've lost yet another job. How the fuck are you going to pay rent? How are you going to do this? How are you going to survive? And then I was sitting there, and it was like in self-pity for a little bit, crying on the end of my bed, like, what are you doing with your life? You're freaking so much better than this. And that's when I just got over it. And that pain, like, I can't remember the specific quote, when you want to change, when the pain of remaining the same is greater than wanting to change. And that would just hit there. And that's what activated, like, my warrior spirit from, like, all my martial arts. I was like, motherfucker, I was like, you got yourself into this shit. You're the only motherfucker, excuse my language too, that can get yourself out of this. I was like, you're 100% responsible for your life. Take ownership for it. Take fucking ownership and sort your shit out. Otherwise, this is going to be your life. What do you want to do? And I was like, fuck this. And then that's that day, man. Cleaned the house, done my CV, Googled how to be successful. Read like Tony Robbins, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, read all the Napoleon Hill, How to Think Rich, Grow Rich, Donald Trump, Think Like a Champion. And I just went fucking relentless. And that's how I can bring it back to where I was at Barrow Island, getting up in the morning. I'd train and then I'd come back, and then I'd work a 12-hour day, train again. I'd save all my money. I caught financial literacy. I learned how to become good with money because I read all these different books, and I was actively applying it, setting goals, knowing the difference between assets and liabilities. I was using all this information and just applying, paid off all my debt and paid off all my debt. And then that's when like when the club split, I was like, I'm not this person, man. And while I was training and having that yin and yang lifestyle of being relentless and coming back and then on R&Rs and party, do drugs, ruin my life pretty much for a week and then get back on that change. And then when I got to the point where I got to leave, that's where I was like, all right, cool, let's do something here. And that's how I was managed to pay off all my debts, become financial literacy, read so many books, did like podcasts, events, everything. It was just, and then that all stemmed from that painful point. I was like, I'm not going to stand for this. And that's what drove me to get me to where I am today. And it still drives me.
I fucking love that, bro. That is honestly, like, you could have easily played victim there and said, fuck it, like, fuck this. But you said, you know what, this is my life. I got control of what happens, and you did it. You grabbed it by the balls and said, you know what, I'm making change, and I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's where we all get caught up in, like, as I briefly spoke to you before about it, but we all get caught up in our bullshit. And I always tell people, and this is my little motto, all great change happens when you get sick and tired of your own bullshit. And it's simple as that. When you get so sick of making the same fucking mistakes, cheating out on your diets, spending all your money mindlessly, arguing in your relationships, whatever area it is in your life, you go to do something, you read a book and you forget it. You read a book, you forget it. Because I went through this same loop. I'm reading all these books. I can't remember shit. What the hell? So I did a learning course. Applied that. And then it's just, once you get sick and tired of it, it creates this inner fire for you. And it's that inner fire that will drive you forward. And it can always come back to your why and your purpose and everything else like that. But if you don't, but it's so I guess that fire is born almost out of frustration and pain. Because when you come to a point where you will just not stand for it, you will just say, nah, I'm not fucking doing this anymore. And that's where you can create change from that place. Because you will do it because you're just so sick of making the same shit or telling yourself the same story. Oh, this happened. I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I'm not that, or whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that for anyone. Some people out there, you need to come from a place of compassion and stuff. But that also comes down to the person in their life taking 100% extreme ownership of their life. Their attitude, their actions, their behaviors. You can't blame it on anyone else but yourself. Exactly. And also coming from a place of compassion and forgiveness as well. Like that's a big element in it as well, in creating change and getting through all of that. But if you take extreme accountability for your life, no matter what's happened right or wrong, then that's from a place where you can create amazing changes.
100% agree with that. And everyone has control of their life. You may not be able to control certain situations, but you can always control how you react to those situations.
100%. That's where what happens is it's called the locus of control, and you just hit the nail on the head. Whereas how would your life be if you try to what I'm going to try to do today is I'm going to troll my family, make them be the way I want, my friends, the economics, the world, society, and then social media. I'm going to try to make that do that. If I can control all of that, my life's going to be great. But what you can control, which you can't control, and everything that's outside of you, you can control one thing: what's inside of you. Your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors, your beliefs, and what you do next. Because what's in me and how I react is what's within my control. And that's being proactive. All right, you've hit with all of this information. What do I want to do here? And that's how you can create change. And like you said, you just hit the nail on the head as well.
100%. Why do you believe people actually focus on that stupid shit that you can't control? I don't get it. Like they get shitty, or it's raining today, so they're fucking shitty. Like you can't control that.
Exactly. Well, I think it's like this, people go into a state of overwhelm. So our unconscious mind is 1 million times more powerful than the conscious mind. And that comes from Dr. Bruce D. Lipton, right? And what happens is we all have these bad behaviors, habits of thinkings. And what happens is what we try to do, sometimes when we go into an overwhelm, we go back from conscious to unconscious. And what happens if we have bad habits there, it's like almost trying to eat the elephant in one bite in our life. When people start focusing on all the shit that they can't control, all the things that's going wrong, right? They're trying to eat an elephant in one bite. And what happens is if you try to eat the elephant in one bite, you're like, how the hell am I going to do this? It's crazy. Oh my God, I'm going to be overwhelmed. I'm going to be stressed. But at the end of the day, it's bite-sized pieces, right? So if you just do it bit by bit. But what happens is people do that in their lives. They focus on all this stuff and then they drop into their unconscious. When they do that, they go into their old behaviors, their old habits. And a lot of people focus on what they can't control, expectations. And that's usually the two biggest things, and what's wrong, sorry. Their problems and what's wrongs, expectations versus appreciations and what they can't control. So if I'm constantly focusing on my problems, what I can't control, and expecting more than I can give rather than coming from a place of appreciation and a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, how do you think my life's going to look? Shit.
Yep.
You're focusing on everything. If I'm focusing, if in any given moment, I'm like, oh man, I couldn't pay these bills this week. This happened. I got fired. If only I could change what the company could have been more, give me more notice, or they could have done all these things for me. And what happens is how you think creates how you feel, and how you feel creates your emotions. And based on your emotions is how you behave. And that's the result that you get. That's metacognition, right? And that's what we do. We go into this trap of think, feel, emotion, behavior, result. Think, feel, emotion, behavior, result. And then that's the reason why people do all of these things, because they get banged with outside information. They've gotten these negative habits that go on focusing on what you can't control, your expectations and your problems. And then they create habits on that. So as soon as they get overwhelmed, it goes straight into the unconscious, and that's what comes out for them. And then people get stuck in victim mentality.
Yeah. And like we would both of us would still have thoughts time to time of those victim thoughts, but it's just about catching yourself and being like, you know what, this has happened for a reason. I'm gonna snap out of it. Fucking, this is what I got to do now. Stop getting so overwhelmed. Take a break, like you said. Training, me taking a hike, just taking a step back to take 2 steps forward.
100%, bro. And that's exactly what happened to me, yesterday. Sorry. And some people just think, that you've got to be superhuman. Sometimes maybe you compare and judge yourself comparison on social media and stuff like that. But sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is to do nothing.
Take a fucking breath.
Yeah, exactly right. Is to do nothing and just relax and realign, and then go, okay, cool. From this place, I can create the results that I need.
Exactly. Now, you started your own gym. How did that all come about?
So yeah, like going through all of like what I'd been through, and then with the gangs and all of that stuff, I got to that pinnacle point. Like when I was working FIFA, I actually had my business partner, he's one of my best mates, be like, what are we going to do with our lives? Like, we cannot do this forever. And if anyone, the listeners out there have ever worked FIFA, like doing the 4-in-1s, the 3-in-1s, man, it got to the point where even though when I was dealing with all that other stuff and doing the personal development, I was dragging my ass to work, like miserable. Like, oh, here I go again, another day. You become like a robot up north when you're doing them hectic swings. And yeah, like it just got to a point where I was like, we sat down there and we're like, I'm reading all these books, let's brainstorming every day. I'm out on the scaffolds and stuff like that. And then eventually, like when we got to a point, we knew that, like, cool, we need to start saving money here. Here's what I'm doing, and whatever you're doing, start saving all of our money. And we got to a point where we created enough money. I left the gang, and we found a franchise called Core 9. So Core 9 is 31-minute workout, no session times, no booking times. It's a mixture of military training, kickboxing, Muay Thai, gymnastics, strength training, pretty much everything that we were passionate about, all into one system, and it had a point of difference. So we reached out to the guys that owned it and said, hey, man, we're interested in buying. And then one thing led to another. I'd done heaps of research on property, and I wanted to be an investor and all of this other stuff, just dragging myself wherever I could. And yeah, we reached out to these guys and we established ourselves. We had no really business experience. I was reading heaps of different books and had great ideas, but didn't know how to retain it all. Like from months and months and months and years of doing all the stuff, you just kind of lose it and realize you have to revisit it and apply it to your life. Just didn't know, you know what I mean? And then we kind of, we got to a point where we said, all right, cool, we're ready. And then we found this amazing location. And then funny enough, we reached out to him. He's like, it's been going. And this is the spot that I've been like visualizing in my mind every day. And it went, and we were like, man. And I still visualized it. And every night, because I was visualizing and trying to, I was just like, no, this is the spot, you know what I mean? And one day it was just like, we were looking and we were having no hope trying to find it to get this gym up actually going. And one day I just got a call from the real estate. He's like, it didn't fall through. Do you just want the spot? And I was just like, yes. And then, and then we just learned, like from that, we were just two guys that come from nothing. Obviously there was my backstory and stuff like that. And we just burned the ships, man. We're going to make this succeed no matter what. And, and so we made it just 3 years later, like now where we're at, we made it succeed, man. We're looking at our second location and doing like the online coaching because, through the mindset and the performance and personal freedom, because that's where the true power is, I believe. You know what I mean? If I was able to do the Tony Robbins, get through this and learn all the coaching and certificates and be able to go through, change myself from who I was to be this most vibrant person that leads from the front, I lead from the heart, and I give a shit about so many people. If I can be this person and create this person, why the fuck can't anyone else do that?
Exactly. Bro, that's, man, your story is really powerful. Honestly, like from where you've come from to now, like the gym seems to be going really well. As you said, good going into another gym, like that's fucking crazy. How many clients do you have as in, because you're a mindset coach as well?
So what I would work with, generally I'm starting to niche down and I work with men. So I help with men create, connect to their vision, create purpose and become fearless and unbreakable in life. And that is just the mentality that I have applied. I've only touched the iceberg on some of the other stuff that I'd been through, like with the gym. I won't go into it this time because it's a bit of a story, but I was able to get through all of this, deal with all this stress and overwhelm and become this. So, I work with a lot of guys, connecting them to their vision, and creating more purpose in their life. And that all comes down and stems from your why, your inner fire, what drives you, right? Because when you've got that inner fire lit and you know all the strong reasons why that you want it and all the bad and the most worst possible outcomes and of why you don't, it's the thing that's going to light your fire. It's like adding, once you get a little flame in there, like, oh, I want this. Most people are surface level. Why do I want this? I want to feel good. I want to be good. But that's no clarity. Your mind doesn't give a shit about that sometimes. Yeah, okay, cool. If you're feeling really bad, maybe, but you need a deeper, strong enough why. And that comes from clarity. And once you've got that fire lit into you, that's where you almost, you become unstoppable then, because you're just going to show up every day like I did with all my throughout, like getting up at 2:45, training, doing all that. You'll just show up to be unstoppable. And when you've got clarity in your vision, and your vision is, people like when I say, what are your goals? Like, make more money, feel better about myself, have a good relationship. I was like, do you see how there's nothing really there to go? I was like, you need to get specific and positively say when you say your vision, it wants to light a fire in you again. You want to be so excited by it. You can't be excited by that. And when people have that and they have clarity in their vision, and it's something that's push-pull, I call it, they're so pulled towards their vision, but their fire is also burning some, and that's gives them the push. It's like the pain and pleasure. You've got a powerful thing that's pulling you forward to help create change. And who do you need to become to have that? And like I said, in life, man, we're always going to be met with resistance. And that when you can establish, becoming unbreakable and fearless and stretching your comfort zone like yourself and going out there and doing the stuff that you need to do. It doesn't matter how small or big. Some people can be running like yourself, ultra marathons. Some people could be a stretch of just walking their foot into the gym. That is a stretch for some people.
Yeah.
but it's learning how to break through them barriers, collectively be upon your thoughts, observing it from an outside perspective, and being able to push through that and know your reasons why. And know, obviously, then there's your strategies and stuff that we put in place and all of that other stuff with the mindset and performance that we break it down. But that then is powerful. So I believe if anyone has clarity in their vision, they know why they're held that they're doing it, and they have their mindset tools and strategies, and then they also learn to teach themselves to become unbreakable and fearless, and they can get through that, because them two tools, or just being yourself, owning yourself, and being able to be faced with the resistance and push through it, that's when you can create anything in your life.
Exactly, man. And what would you say is the process of coaching someone to actually find their why and get clarity in their life, especially if they're kind of lost in what direction they're head?
So I'll give you the 4 simple tips that we usually do. I jump on a discovery call with someone, and like, they might have reached out for me for my content or whatever it may be, or I've reached out to them, and we look at the 2 things: is what's your 12-month vision? And you've got 8 categories of life: your physical body and health, you have got your relationships, you've got your fun and adventure, you've got your career and your businesses, you've got your finances and your wealth, you've got your personal growth, you've got your spirituality, and then you also have, what's the last one? Your physical environment. And the physical environment is just for those who don't know, would be like, you are, it looks good, feel good metaphor, right? And if you're in a messy environment, you can't thrive in that. So you need to build your environment structurally to help make you thrive. Whether that is, for example, if you have a morning routine, right, and you're working at work, right, you need to get your body moving. Like, so putting music on, blurring out, getting yourself amped up for the day. All right, cool. You've got your plants in there. You're a product of your environment, right? If your environment is making you feel good, it's like walking into a party. If it's dull or shit, or a hotel, they've got bad climbing lights, it's subconsciously you feel that. If you go into an environment where you're like, yeah, man, this is sick. Like, I've got things that inspire me. I've got, posters. If you dream big enough, anything can come true. If you're feeling inspired, you're already ahead of the race. So that's just what physical environment is for these shows. So we bring people in, we figure out what their 12-month vision is, what's most important for them. You prioritize. They might say, all right, cool, these are the areas that are most important for me, like a life will, and we pick one, because then we prioritize and execute, because you can't achieve 8 things at once, right? It's like the elephant metaphor. So we figure out what's the 3 most important things for them, and we establish, why that is important to you. So I'll ask them, why do you really want this? What's important to you in your life? What's important to you? You're like, family, this, that. I was like, well, why do you actually really want this? And then once they figure out why they really want it, or sometimes it's easy to flip that. Why don't you really want this? What's the worst possible outcome that you could think of? A lot of people with family, I was like, so how is it going to feel, right? If it's within their health, how is it going to feel if you keep letting your health go this way? And I'm talking worst possible outcome, that you don't make it to your daughter's wedding and you die. And or how is it going to feel if you're the role model in this family and you're going to pass all your bad habits down? Because what happens is we have the ages from 0 to 7 is the imprinting period where we learn what it means to be a human being. How is it going to feel when you give your daughter all your bad habits and all your mental struggles? Do you want that? Fuck no. And that's going to be, because it's important to them, that's going to light the fire for them. And then it's just repetition. So once you've looked at their vision, why it's important to you, we've got to figure out where they're at. Because if you don't have a starting point, how can you have a finishing line? It's like swimming out into the ocean with a boat. Like, I'm going to planet or, island Fantasia where all my dreams come there. You're just going around in circles. Like, I don't even really know where it is, but I don't even know where to start. You need a start point and a finishing point. So where are you at right now? What's your current life situation? And then we figure out what's stopping you. What's preventing you from getting there? Because it's just like, all right, cool. Now we're at the island over here. We've got to go over there, right? What do we need? What do we need to get through that? So, all right, cool. We got to get through fear of judgment. We got to get this. What's going to drive you forward? Feelings of, what are your values? What's going to drive you forward? How can we get you in alignment and down the right current that's going to steer you towards that rather than fighting the current? So you got to look at their values. You got to look at this. You got to see what's stopping them. Fear of failure, fear of judgment. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. They're the biggest ones. I'm not worthy. They're usually the 2 biggest primal fears is, 1, that I'm not going to be loved, and 2, I'm not good enough. That's where most people always stem from, two beliefs: I'm not going to be good enough, and obviously your fears. Once you get all that alignment, then we actively build a strategy. So generally, like what happens is people go through and carry a lot of unconscious baggage in their life. And what that means is, like what I said, we got these not social ideals, the socialization period. So that's like from ages of 0 to 7 is the imprinting period. So what happens is our parents pass us down all their beliefs, their habits, we model off them. And we go into the next period, which is from 8 to 14, which is the modeling period, where we learn, like we might start idolizing TV stars, your cartoons, your favorite movie people, your teachers, sporting people, celebrities. And then you go into your socialization period from 18 to 21, and that's when you're partying, you're doing that, you're kind of finding your groove of who you are. So all of this collectively, right, creates your identity. And what happens is when people experience trauma, negative emotions, they create these limiting beliefs that are inside them to protect them from a young age. So it's just like, for example, if your teacher says that, jokingly, you're stupid, but it really impacts that kid at like age 7. He's like, you're stupid, and I made a joke of it, and then happens at where I was, and then maybe their mum might have said, like, honey, why do you always do them dumb things? Now, if that's really impacted them and they haven't really got through that, they're creating that meaning of I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm dumb. Now, when they're age 30 and they're stuck at a dead end job and they're doing this, all like, well, this is all I can do. I'm stupid and dumb. My life isn't going to go anywhere, because they believe it, because that's what they're conditioned to believe. So when we go through these processes of taking out all these limiting beliefs or identifying, shining the lighting on them, we identify and start to pull them out and start to create action plans and change. So we change the belief out and we create action plans that's going to empower them rather than disempower them. That's how people create that momentum in their life that they need. Just like what we said before, the glass ceiling effect, about raising their standard, creating that belief, taking action, creating a new belief, creating action. That's the staircase for success. And that's how you break through all the glass ceilings.
Yeah. Do you do timeline therapy with your clients?
Yeah, so we do timeline therapy. Yes, so I'm an NLP master practitioner. I do a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm a mental health first aider as well. So we generally, timeline is one of the biggest ones as well, because that works with all the unconscious stuff as well.
Yeah, I did that a few weeks ago for the first time. I was like, wow, okay, I got a lot out of it actually.
Yeah. So it is quite an interesting thing. So they've usually, timeline, from what I've been told from my mentors, is like they used it a lot with the army. So when they were integrating from Afghanistan or Iraq, and they're coming back and they've got all these traumas in it, and they've experienced some bad shit, and that's where PTSD and everything else lies. So what happens is that they created this process. I think timeline was done by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. I think that's the guys that founded NLP. But this process is so powerful. It's about diving deep into the unconscious mind, asking a series of specific questions and recreating that, and really releasing the emotions. And so like timelines is one of the most powerful practices. But what it is one of the prime directives of the unconscious mind is to repress negative emotions that it's not dealt with. So what happens is if we don't actively deal with these emotions, they get suppressed. And then what happens is behavioral patterns will come out, or limiting beliefs will come out, because we've never dealt with that. If I said to you, like, when's the last time you thought about something that affected you when you were 7? You're like, never. And what happens is there'll be a button there. It's almost like a button. When you release that, like, get people really present and like, oh man, and then you get them to express what actually happened to them there, then in that moment, and created a space for them to be vulnerable and safe and know that it's okay. That's where people break down and cry and let it out. And then afterwards, it's like, I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulder. Or when people let go of expectation creates anxiety. Anxiety is fear of loss and control.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. And when we have all these expectations on ourselves, I'll come, you can even just, I'm going to try, even in that itself, it's like, it elevates your heart rate. It's almost like, I've gone from the parasympathetic to I can't remember what the other one's called off the top of my head at the moment, to the other nervous system, your fight or flight nervous system. And it's like, and that's literally all done from expectations and not dealing with these things that they haven't dealt with. So it's really crazy. The mind is so powerful than we've ever believed, as you can experience with your friend and everything else like that, who was doing all these crazy things. It's, it's the most, unknown thing, that it's the people who are still learning every day, like through neuroplasticity and all of that. It's just crazy. Like how limitless is the mind? We don't know yet. They still haven't figured that out.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like from my experience of Thailand therapy, so I went to like a men's group that we did
Yep.
it at, and we are talking about emotions. And as men, I guess anger is probably the top emotion that we find hard to deal with.
Yeah, for
So the
sure.
whole basis of the Thailand therapy was to go back and the first time you ever experienced anger, and then where you were, what happened, and then what you could learn from that experience, and it brought
Yeah.
up memories that I've never thought of, like since it happened. I was like, holy shit, like I didn't know this was still inside me. I was like, fuck. And then I learned like so much from that moment, and I could see why I've reacted like the way I've done
Crazy.
throughout my life just from that moment. Like it's like a never ending cycle. It was crazy.
Your unconscious mind literally stores everything. It
Yeah.
is crazy, bro. Like it's like the biggest unlimited hard drive in the planet. And you generally, like what you said, you touch base on that. We always look for three things: the negative emotion that was present, what meaning did you make there and then about yourself? Also, like what age, what was happening, what was occurring for you at that time, and what did you make it mean about yourself? Just like I said, like you could have it a joke, like, "Oh, honey, you're always doing dumb stuff. Oh, why are you always doing that?" And where it could be completely unintentional, but if you're getting sad from that and you're making it mean like I'm not good enough, I'm stupid, that's going to play out in your life, and that's going to create them limiting beliefs. And when you float above your timeline and you observe it for what it is, not what being in there being meaning, you observe it. What was actually occurring for you then? Okay, maybe it is. So it helps disassociate yourself from the feelings, and then when you go down and experience it, and you come back out and you look down, what did you learn from this from a positive perspective of how it made you who you are today, and what can you learn from this, and can you store that? And when people actually said, well, how did this actually make you to who you are? Well, this gave me so maybe that happened for someone, and they had got the drive to become smart, or whatever it is, or the drive to inspire young kids with disabilities. So then when they start to collect actually all of this, all it is seeing it from one side to another, observation and interpretation. So it's a paradigm shift, because you're focusing on what was wrong to what's right, just like you would have experienced yourself. And when you start to come from that place, like it comes from a place of, oh, I'm not good enough, disempowered. Once you look at all the positive learnings and you see that, you feel that, you know it to be true in your heart, and your mind stores it now for future and self, you're like, all right, I can come from that place instead, because our brain's trained to look for what's wrong, not for what's right.
Yeah.
And that's because like I said, we have this 2 million year old brain that's built for survival and safety. It's always going to be there trying to have your safety at its best interest. So it's always going to look for things in your environment that could be wrong. But what happens is we don't have any threats out there. All our threats occur in here by phones, social media, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And like I would highly recommend timeline therapy for anyone. Like I got immense value from it.
It's huge. It is huge, bro. And that's what generally, like after we've gone through that pre-frame process, that's usually the first 1 to 2 sessions that we do. We unpack their stories, what's holding them back, and then we go into either timeline therapy or forgiveness work. And that's the thing that creates getting rid of all that unconscious baggage.
Yeah.
And then you learn to come from a place of empowerment rather than disempowerment.
Yeah, it's a fucking weight lifted off your shoulders, that's for sure.
100%, my man. So I'm glad that you've experienced it. That's really awesome.
Talk to me about routine. You seem like a bit of a routine guy. What's your morning routine like?
So generally, I'll wake up in the morning, man. Like anything, I make my bed. I make my bed straight away. Try to make that all perfect, and then I try to do about 3 minutes of movement. Like I do 40 back rolls, 40 front rolls, and then just real shake my body out as well. And I'll sit on the edge of my bed, and I'll anchor myself in with just 5 big breaths. And I've done box breathing, I've done meditation and stuff like that. I usually do like a little bit of meditation in the afternoon, but I'll anchor myself within 5 big breaths. So it's almost like box breathing. So I'll be big in for 4, hold, and out for 4. But every time that I do, I really anchor as something I can be appreciative for. And I acknowledge and accept myself. So I acknowledge myself and I'll appreciate myself. And then I'll really think about what I could be most proud of, something maybe that I've overcome or something that I've done in my life when I made a powerful decision. And my idea is to win in the mind first, to win in the mind at the start of the day, because how you set your morning is how the rest of your day unfolds. So I will do my 5 big breaths. And after my 5 big breaths, and I've done my little bit of movement, only for like 3 to 4 minutes and stuff like that, I'll say like my mantra, which is like, I believe in, so I am connected to the infinite source of the power of the subconscious mind. And then I'll affirm a couple of different things based on whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm powerful, I'm strong, I'm intelligent, I'm creative, I am love, I love and accept myself. And then I'll usually go straight through into that. And then I do my teeth, have my vitamins, and drink about 700 ml of water. And then in the afternoons, it's simple, man. It's just get it like after I've gone through my day, I structure my day and time block my day. But I've gone through my day, man. I'll usually just I'm using Fit Mind at the moment because sometimes your mind's getting pulled so much. So Fit Mind is a really great app for just training your meta awareness, training your metacognition. So it's just training my mind. So I just like to do that for like 5-10 minutes. I might journal depending on what it is or what's wrong, what's working for me, what's not working for me. How could I improve, and what are my action steps moving forward, depending on what it is that I'm trying to do, and then I'll do, and then that will be it.
Love that. Do you do cold showers or ice baths or anything like that?
Oh, sorry, I actually forgot that. Yeah, so at the moment I'm doing cold showers every morning, and then I'm ice bathing every Sunday. But I've always been on and off with all my cold showers. Like I've done it for like 9 months straight, and then I got over it, and then I've went back onto cold showers and went off it, and then so it's always been like that. But I think the last 40 days have just been every day, and then every Sunday I've been doing ice baths.
Yeah.
Which was pretty interesting. Like was because we've got a freezer, and I don't have a thermostat, and it was all icy and breaking off, and I have no idea how cold it was. And I stood in it after, like I did a little bit of meditation, like cool, let's go, let's jump in it. And I stood in it for my first time, and I've never been really a big fan of the cold water. I've done it because it was resistance. You want to be scared of the cold water, you're going in the cold water. So that's what it was always like. And I stood in the ice bath. I was like, this is so cold. And then I went, because it was quite like small. I got in there and I was like stuck in there. I was like, oh my God, I'm stressing out. Got out. I was like, no. I was like, anchor back in, let's go. Got out, and I was like, oh, fucking me. And then jump back in. This is on my first one. Jump back in, and I managed to, breathe, get down real nice and low. And I just sat in there for like 4 minutes. And then as you get out, your body is just piercing, but you feel so much better afterwards. So much better.
Yeah. You just got to control
What
your
about
breath.
Yeah, exactly. Just anchoring in with the present moment. And once you do, I think it's just that initial shock. Once you get through that initial shock and that pain, it's just like the pain staying, or the pain or whatever it is, it just stays the same. It doesn't get any worse. Just like when you jump into a freezing cold shower, you're like, oh! And then you're just like, well, it's not going to get any colder. You're just going to sit here and deal with this level of stress. And then when you do that, it's just like, well, it's not going to, you can't hurt you. You're here. Just go through it. Same with the ice bath, was I was like, oh. And when I got in there the next time, I was like, and then I just sat there. Once you're feeling all your skin go like red and stuff like that, and it's like, well, this is just the same thing. And just breathe. It's not going to do it. It's not going to kill you. It's cool. Let's go. And then after you get through that, you can then come from enjoyment rather than trying to fight it. Just flow with it.
Exactly. Yeah, I finish all my showers with cold.
Yeah.
Which
have you had? Oh, sorry there, Nick. Have you tried ice baths and stuff before?
Yeah. I have ice baths occasionally when I feel like it.
Yeah, they suck, eh?
Yeah.
they're amazing, but like, I just find them so fascinating because you get in there and it's just like, oh my God, and then you get in there and then you just anchor in and it's just like, oh, this is cool, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to get one of those freezers because I can't be bothered filling up my bath and putting ice in it all the time. I'd rather just get a freezer.
Yeah.
I can just jump in.
That's exactly what I've got. Except I haven't got the long one. I've got one of the shorter ones.
Yeah,
The one
okay.
of the, you can get in that. So when I got there, I'm sitting, I think, at 93 or 94 kilos. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I couldn't get my legs down. I got these big legs. I'm just like, oh, I can't get down. I was like, my girlfriend was like, get down. I was like, I can't. Then I had to go, I got back up out, and then I was like, all right, crawled back in. Then I was like, all right, cool. I can actually do this. So yeah. But yeah. Sorry.
Do you put your head under the ice water sometimes?
I haven't done that yet. I am open to it, but it's like I'm literally like this in here. So I'm gonna like.
Oh yeah.
I want to do it though because I've seen it. A couple of people do it. It'd be crazy. Have you done that
Yeah,
under the cold?
yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna try to. I'll put my head in there first this time.
Bit of brain freeze.
Yeah, I know. Get in there, then it won't be as a discomfort. But nah, I've grown to love the ice baths as well. You know what I mean? I've grown to love the cold. It's just one of them things. It's another resistant point in your life. You've got to go tackle it head on. Otherwise, you got an option to either always shy away from what scares you, or just lean into it. That's what I always say. And like, if you talk about the 6 human needs, if you know, a lot of people have this need for certainty. Certainty and significance is usually the 2 highest needs, but you only get your needs met. And like when you're talking about challenges and overcome, and this is probably what your mate is, he's probably driven by uncertainty and variety, right? So when you come from that place, you embrace that and you actively seek that. Whereas a lot of people, if they're certainty driven, when they're in the uncertainty, and it takes a while. It's like a muscle that they've got to build rather than all coming from within too.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like we want certainty, but really is anything certain in life? That's the question.
Yeah, I guess, like, I mean, like a lot of people find certainty from so many different things. And when you get an understanding of these 6 human needs, people, people like you get an understanding of people work, right? And like people do so many different things from certainty, just like certainty and security, should I call it? Like, oh, I've got a financial job. They do routines and it helps build certainty. So once you do your routine, it builds certainty. If you scroll on Facebook, funny enough, that builds certainty too, because you got, it's that level of comfort and security almost, because you can predict the road ahead.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone, or what's the best piece of advice you've received as well?
I wouldn't be able to, I think, what I give to people would be that what triggers you will transform you. And that means is whether that's in your life, you're scared to go to the gym, whatever triggers you and you're scared of, or things that you shy away from or avoid, it's going to transform you as a human being. And because what lays underneath them is growth. And if you're not progressing in life, you're dying, right? So once you learn to, lean in when you're all, when you push away, once you learn to lean in and embrace the road ahead of you, rather than pushing away all the time, your life is going to transform for you. And I guess, yeah, exactly, my man. And I guess I'd have to really have a think, what's the best advice given to me? Man, I wish I had this, because I've been given so much advice in my time from all my coaches and everything else. I couldn't even say something off the top of my head.
It's all good, man. We'll jump into.
But I guess this would probably be it. Clarity is power.
Yeah, love that.
Clarity is power, and the reason being is because we get so caught up in everything else that we're doing. But as soon as if you know what you want and you know really why you want it, you're gonna find a way. You're gonna make a way or find a fucking way. So clarity is power, and knowing why you really want it is the next thing that will follow from that.
2 great quotes there. I've never heard those ones before. I love it.
And I guess the reason why is because the art of success and fulfillment is having a target that you're working towards. And this is what Tony Robbins says, having a target that you're working towards is going to give you that pull, but knowing why you're really doing it and coming from a place of not just desire, but coming from a place of almost like love and acceptance, and it's like almost coming from a place of power, because sometimes when we come from a place of desire, yeah, that's great, but it's not in the map of consciousness, it's not a place that's sustainable. When you come from a place of acceptance, love, and power, it's almost like a harmonious place, and that's what's going to create fulfillment in your life. So once you have that target, you've got clarity on your target and you know why that you're doing all the things that you're doing, you're coming from a pure place, a pure and powerful place. That's when you can really, really transform. And it kind of reiterates to that quote, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And then it points out that it's our light that most frightens us. It's not our dark, but it's our light that most frightens us. And that's because I believe people are truly more powerful than they see, that they think that they are. And that's when you come from this place of lightness, light in yourself. That's when, you have the ability to create whatever it is that you want to create in your life.
Exactly. You're fucking unstoppable once you figure all that stuff out and you believe in yourself and you have clarity. You can do anything.
100%, man. 100%. 100%.
How do you define success?
Well, I guess from being everything that I had been through, it's just freedom. My success is freedom. Obviously, I have targets that I have working towards, and I get so caught up in everything that I'm doing. But ultimately, freedom and freedom of choice, freedom to be able to do what I want to do, and also success for me is once you come from that place as well. That's not what it is. I thought, like getting a gym and everything, and I love health and fitness because I was a fat, overweight kid that was bullied. My biggest thing that I love about the gym is creating a community for people to thrive in, and seeing people make friendships, seeing people be connected, and you just go in there and you just have fun. Obviously, then you work hard as well, but having that. So I guess freedom of choice and everything else is my success. And obviously it requires, a level of income that you need to create for that. But it also, I guess for me, is connecting people. And connecting people, not only just to connect people, but connecting people and helping them thrive, pushing them to grow, pushing them to be better than yesterday. And that doesn't, for me, that's why I love the mindset. And I love that because when they're carrying all this baggage, they're so limited in what they do with all of this. They won't go out into public. They might not do this. They might not do that. They might not run a marathon, whatever it may be. But when you break through that and teach them to thrive and push forward and go through that resistance, and you build that connection, not only with self, connecting to self, because that's huge as well, being connected and knowing who you are and loving and accepting yourself for all of you and being unapologetically yourself and showing up in life with no expectations, just being pure to who you fucking are. And then on top of that, creating that connection for people, you know what I mean? I want to create people to thrive in, I guess, connection to thrive. So that would be my definition for success.
Yeah, it's such a great feeling and so fulfilling knowing that you're helping people. Like that's why I love doing the podcast, like and receiving messages saying that I love the podcast and it's helped me so much. It's like, fuck, it's such a good feeling, eh?
Yeah, exactly. This is why I love it. Like, I've never met you before. I mean, I can already say that we'd get along quite really well, but it's just getting out there, just throwing yourself out there, meeting a complete stranger, being vulnerable, just sharing shit that you would just not normally share with people. Like I'm pretty open now, but like doing that is powerful. And then, if someone can just take a little bit out of this and apply it to their life, then a part of their life is going to transform as well.
100%.
And what I would say to people is wherever you're at in your life, you are exactly where you need to be, because life happens for you, not to you. And this is an opportunity for yourself to overcome and take yourself to the next level on whatever area of life that you are doing.
Yep. Only you can make that change. No one else can.
100%.
Last question, Jake. When your time's all up on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
I guess for me, like, I want to be remembered as someone that will not stop. I want to be remembered as someone that had like everything against him in a sense, but created the most, I want to create impact on people. So I want to create, like, that's what innovate, inspire, impact is. But I want to show people that it doesn't not matter where and what you are faced with. If you show up every fucking day, you keep going, you keep coming, you can create the life that you want to be. So I want to create, for me, I want to be known as the guy that motivated people to get through their problems. They inspired them to create change. I want to be known as a guy that had impact and influence amongst everyone. But not only that, is I want you to be known as a guy that lived and radiated from the heart, because I think that is the key. And it's sometimes we are so caught up in the outside, but when we're in our heart and we're in that pureness and that appreciation and gratitude and radiating from service in your heart, I believe that you care about people more. I believe that you're willing to do what it takes more. And when you come from that place, right, and you're in service to that, if you're in service to giving more and caring more, your businesses, everything else is going to transform, because you want to solve more problems. Your customer service is better. Everything is in service. If you're speaking from your heart, you're speaking real, authentic shit. You're not talking shit. You're speaking the truth, and you're speaking because you care about the other people that you're trying to inspire to create change in their life. And when you come from that place, I think it's going to connect to a lot more people.
Fuck, I love that, brother. Love that so much, man. You're doing great things, and I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story. I'm super grateful.
Man, me too. It was lovely to connect, Nick. Hopefully we can do this again sometime. I would love to hear about like how you go with the ultras, and like you also, I might have to go stalk your mate, see what he's been doing. He sounds like an interesting character.
For sure, man. And for all the listeners, where can they best find you?
You can find me on Instagram at I am Jake Ward. Facebook, I've got 2 pages, Jake Ward on both of them, or email me at info@iamjakeward.com. And yeah, that's the best platforms to find me on. But awesome, yeah, bro. I just want to say thank you, Nick, for having me on, my man, and I appreciate you, and happy Easter.
You too, man. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Share it on your socials. Go check out what Jake's doing. He's doing amazing things. See you in the next episode. Cheers.